This is where the Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, go to the Renegade website. See the phone number, of course, to hit me up if you have any questions in reference to work or for one-on-one lessons. And as you know, the one-on-one monthly lessons are coming soon. But if it's separate from the monthly one-on-one lessons, as I work with individuals very closely, in addition to work, but you understand work is separate. But when I do one-on-ones, work is involved. Okay, so of course, if you have any questions in reference to that or want to obtain the frequencies, of course, the number is there. But as you already know, that art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art. And wayward is about that revenge, redemption, and responsibility. Coming back a little soon because I want to kind of do a recap of some energies that I've been peeping in my comments. And I'm a little curious about YouTube and its direction and its unprofessionalism, but who in the hell are they talking to? What is the face of Black people and what does it mean? It is getting scary out here, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. I see in my comments, I have deflectors, I have diverters, cyber deflectors, and cyber diversion. I have individuals who are cyber interjectors but have an analytical disorder. I have people in my comments that just don't comment, make their points. I have people who believe they can outthink, outsmart, outthought, outtalk, outmaneuver, outshine fire and air language because they have their own insecurities and well-being. Always understand in your life, there's always people standing in the back looking at you with a glare, sometimes with a wig. And they hate, they disguise themselves, they just there. And they're always talking or doing something in the background. Something to show that you're mediocre, as they call it, mid. So you have to be strong within yourself and know within yourself that you always have these people running around here with analytical disorders, especially in the cyber world of social media. So I just kind of want to go around in circles and let's have some conversations about these particular cyber magics, cyber, deflections and so on. It's always the back and forth. My brain can't go back and forth with motherfuckers. I was just being a little petty in my other video where I did, respond to a couple of people, but it's just what it is, what it ain't. It's really not my problem. It's a them problem. Just to say all of that, someone felt I was acting like a romper room kid when I mentioned Layla Ali being dead. They basically told me in their Yale Harvard voice that I need to do motherfucking research because on social media, that is, Layla Ali done told you niggas that she's alive. Then that means that you have less than the brain, or matter of fact, I would say a child who's in preschool have more than the brain that you can ever have, and you're still playing with blocks and tinker toys. If you couldn't comprehend what the fuck I was talking about, that means I'm above your pay grade. Or are you just so motherfucking petty with low insecurity and self-esteem that you needed to come back on some bullshit to show or discredit what the fuck I was saying. So I see that you have a you problem that's in this cyber world, which is called cyber witchcraft. So, however, when I'm looking at the frequencies, when I was talking about Layla Ali being dead, which that information was forwarded over to me because that's what they put out in the universe. My whole point of talking about that is we should have questions of why all of a sudden in the universal soul and the cyber frequencies that they keep putting out that these people are dead. From that China girl that's on that show, was it The House of Pain, to Steve Harvey, and so on. So therefore, if they're running around here talking about on social media that Layla Ali is dead, then maybe we should understand some things. Maybe we should investigate what the fuck is that. They're coming up with great details and stories of these people being dead and giving a whole synopsis, which is on social media. In addition, you will see different YouTube channels talking about this. Where is the common sense of human beings who have any goddamn sense to question what the hell is going on? Because why would one rumor that someone is dead unless they are dead? Okay? Or what is going on? Or are they about to be dead? What is this game? What is the energy behind it? The whole energy of me talking about this type of bewitchery is, what is the energy behind saying someone is dead? And therefore, if you put your thinking cap on, if you're on social media, you can create periods, time, and you can have predated times and more. Do you understand I forgot that actress that played in Babs, and this was maybe around 2021 or 2022, and I talked about how different individuals were saying when they had announced her death, which was in the last couple of years or a couple of years ago, of the woman who played in that role, and that woman, and the person I'm talking about is also the co-star that television show that Eve was on, the dark-skinned sister that's plus size, her, right? And they said she died of cancer. And then I had someone hit me up and say, hey, I know for a fact, matter of fact, I had 3 different people hit me up saying for a fact, stating she been dead since the late 90s, either the late 90s or 2000. And they didn't understand why they were just now reporting that woman's death. Do you know how scary it is that that they'll sit up and say someone has throat cancer or so on, then you kind of don't hear from them again, and then they end up dead? You don't think it's weird that they sat up and said that Steve Harvey is dead and he just kind of went missing? And then next thing you know, they recently talked about Dennis Rodman and all that. None of that seemed weird to you. And you don't see the bewitchery in that. I told you guys, I found it very interesting how they kept pushing Whoopi Goldberg to kiss the ass of Demi Moore in addition to Oprah Winfrey. Yet, they reported was it last week or so, that Whoopi, or was it this week or last week, that Whoopi Goldberg basically collapsed, and I believe I talked about that. Every time they keep pushing people narratives on social media, something ends up happening. Denzel Washington, they keep pushing a narrative and then put him in that dang play that's allegedly written by Candy, which we already know is not written by Candy. Most likely, they went and took someone's script and paid that person for their script or their playwriting, and the person sold their play to whoever, and then they slapped her name on it. Because you don't go traveling around with Escape with them horrible costumes and misshaped behaviors, and then talk about you didn't wrote a play over here, and then talk about that you're hustling. I don't know what it is, what it ain't. I'm just saying we have to watch out for certain codes, certain frequencies, and what is about to happen. Nothing more, nothing less. However, When you're ready to open up some motherfucking sales, then maybe we could talk about this real shit here. So therefore, it's plastered all over the media about this whole DNA frequency of this 13,000-year-old extinction of a dire wolf that they have repopulated, spliced, recreated, remanifested, reanimated the cells of this fucking wolf, of this alleged wolf that might be a robot, okay, or might be an AI. We don't know. However, let's say for giggles and laughs that we played this game, that they didn't sat up and recreated something that was extended many, many, many years ago. First, how in the hell they know it's 13,000 years ago? That's a code right there telling you 13,000. So look at the 1 and the 3 and turn it back around and see the 31 and you see the games. Then when you look at the zeros behind it, you understand the spirit connected, because they want to connect spirit, connect to science and DNA. So you have bioscientists around here that's acting like fucking witchcraft, right? Or witch doctors. However, it goes back to what the hell the UCLA professor was talking about, that they put him on administrative leave and then shadow banned him off of social media, that he was talking about how many professors in the UC system, especially PhD professors, are not being paid for what they're worth. However, they're intentionally trying to push them out of those jobs so they can get in what he said was illegal or immoral jobs in labs and so on, where they're paying them a whole lot of money, or a broad or worldly situation here, okay? So therefore, when we seen this whole concept, we seen a whole bunch of lab rats who is up in the lab up there creating all these frequencies, but that might be a front, because we really don't know who in the hell is playing these type of games. They may show us American people in front of us, to be honest with you, that appears to be Americans in the lab up here playing around with the reanimator spirit, but it may be something else behind it. However, when we turn around and understand them recreating this alleged dire wolf, then we need to go back to 2022 to the Yale Journal, when the Yale Journal, and remember I reported this back then, that the Yale Journal was saying that they were in process of revamping and getting fundings and grants and endowments or whatever and so on, and support in reference to going into the laboratory, and I'm going to say manifesting extincted animals that have been extinct. So we better watch out what this game is, because this is much bigger than what it is. What they're trying to say in so many words, if your grandmother dies, all we have to do is, before she dies, is get her DNA, save that shit, then we can basically steal the likes of her and recreate her. Do you understand? Do you understand where this is going? Or has it already went there? Because then, let alone, we're over here looking at Kanye West. Is that what happened to him? Which is called the reanimator in a way. So anyway, this is above y'all pay grade. So they're out here playing. They're out here playing with this extension. They're out here playing with DNA. They're out here incubating. They're out here playing lab rats. They're out just doing all type of shit. They're playing almost Pet Cemetery. Why in the fuck, let's say for giggles and laughs, would you sit up and recreate a fucking dire wolf? That motherfucker may try to kill us. He may have fucking wings. They're going too fucking far. We out here with our children and shit. Think, oh, that's a beautiful butterfly. Then next thing you know, that thing turn into a motherfucking mongoose. I don't know what the hell is going on. It might be fucking a pterodactyl. It might be fucking Fred Flintstone. I'm walking down the street. I said, oh, that's a nice dog. That motherfucker didn't turn into a damn lion, then a damn caveman, then a damn fucking turtle, then a fucking damn dinosaur at the goddamn same time. We don't know what the hell is going on, right? So they're out here playing goddamn games with us. So we better look and see what this is, because then that goes back into even with them and entertainers, your life, your frequency, and on. That's stranger danger. We don't know what the hell that is. They going to let that goddamn thing on the loose, and we out loose, and we think it's a damn or damn coyote or whatever. Motherfucker ain't no fucking coyote. He got some sharp ass teeth. We don't know if he'll go crazy. You don't know what the hell that is. Man, meanwhile, you worried about me talking about Layla Ali. So then I had another individual. I guess I'm too old to be talking about Cardi B, and I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about when I said she was a prostitute and a criminal and a mule and a fucking drug offender and a fucking sex offender. I guess I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about when I said that Offset had custody. Well, let me recorrect myself. Temporary custody, because I think you forgot around 2024, around that time frame, when they sat up and said that Offset and his mother was taking care of the children and he had some kind of temporary custody. Did y'all forget about that goddamn shit? And that Cardi B had moved out the goddamn house and she had moved to Los Angeles and she was out there tripping like Lady Gaga and she was scared of the house? And she haven't been having the children because they thought it was in the best interest of the kids that Offset have the children. I'm just reporting what they said on social media, so I don't know how the fuck you missed that. Furthermore, when I was talking about her crime scene, I see you guys are in confusion. So we're going to say allegedly here. See, they didn't set up and told you guys that she's in trouble for some kind of bar scene, but you now realizing that that's just a cover up of them really saying that her ass is going to court for this other shit that she didn't got herself into. Then we go back to that bullshit of that Tasha K story. We just saying allegedly, but for giggles and laughs. How about it was really no shit with Tasha K? None of that shit was really real because they all know each other like a motherfucker. And what was really going on, she was really going to jail for going to court for those RICO charges that are probably on that ass. We just saying allegedly, we just talking, right? So therefore you guys don't understand that this whole making a deal with the devil frequency goes tapping back into these motherfuckers be caught up in shit. So let's go back and explore, okay? Because she may want to do county time, but she didn't want to do the Fed time and she didn't want to do the prison time. So they said, well, hey, we could turn you into this energy called Cardi B, and then you go at it with these motherfuckers. Meanwhile, you could it'll cut off some of them years that you'll get for attempted rape, attempted drugging, attempted murder, muling, gang violence, and all. Okay, we just talking, we just hypothetical. We're not saying what it is, right? So therefore, we'll cover it up by creating scenes and stories, but really your ass is going to court because you need to check in because we're going to put you under the Masonic Freemason frequency where we're not going to sentence you yet, but you're going to basically, you may be in jail for what? Maybe 15 years. Okay, so for 15 years, we're going to have you under this energy that we call Cardi B. And you're going to do as we say, what we say, when we say, and how we say. You're going to marry this person, that person. You're going to start this way and that way. Matter of fact, we're going to have you with different looks on social media. People not going to know who and what you are. You're going to get plastic surgery. Matter of fact, we're going to have a clone. We're going to have basically a TS pretending to be you sometime. Matter of fact, you're going to get so many plastic surgeries that you can't deliver children. Matter of fact, your legs and shit, everything going to be so fucked up. You just not going to know who in the hell you are anymore. See, that's above y'all pay grade for that to happen. It would be difficult for you guys to sit up and think that Wesley Snipes didn't go to jail for no fucking tax evasion, but for some other shit. Because you could make payment arrangements with the IRS. So why you have to go to jail? What else was the fuck? What the fuck was he doing? Okay? But we don't think about that because that's none of our business, right? We just let the media tell us whatever they want to tell us. See, just like that energy with that bar fight with the brat. No, what was the real deal? What really happened? What really happened with that? Not saying it didn't happen. We're just speaking hypothetically. Maybe that was a cover from something else, just like with Remy Ma. What was that a cover up for? And they just put that as a front. Why is Judy really with the brat? Okay, so then over here, because again, I guess you guys don't be reading them charges. What the fuck a girl be talking about with that Cardi B? So recently they was talking about that Big U. Big U is just a motherfucking front of the real motherfuckers who are really in jail. See, they're not going to sit up and show you the other nationalities who are really caught up. They're always going to put in front the black man. But he's just kind of the lower level frequency. But who was behind him? You will never see them. We just talking. But everything is a front. But it's just what it is. Right? Anyway, I had another person who seemed to think that I'm Candace Owens. And apparently I done sat up and told you guys not to vote for Kamala Harris. And so basically, I guess I'm on social media whining and crying over Trump, which I'm not. I'm just calling out for what it is. I talk about every goddamn body. I never told y'all not to vote for fucking Kamala. I told you to rethink some shit. But let's have a conversation for a moment, since you have an issue with me and think I'm Candace Owens and having buyer's remorse. I don't. The bottom line is that I don't have buyer's remorse for Kamala. Hell, at least I know what the fuck that white man is. I just don't know who in the hell Elon is. I don't get that part. However, let's talk real and talk right here, because I could care any kind of way, because all of them are fucked up. First of all, when Biden and Kamala was in office, that was an interesting situation. We should have been suspicious then when they sat up and forced Kamala onto us as vice president and then let her win and then cheated out the whole voting system. I guess you forgot that every time people said that Biden cheated, they censored you and said you can't talk about Biden anymore. See, they started this shit back in the pandemic of censoring people and basically saying you can't say this, you can't say that. Did y'all forget on YouTube, they said if you say anything negative about Biden, they were going to censor you and basically remove the video? I think you forgot about that part, right? Because there were so many people saying that they cheated their way in. Go back and research that. It's go back and research that whole frequency with Biden and especially with Kamala. During that time of the vice president election, or not vice president, but the presidential election, I think y'all forgot that they kept talking about Kamala and her private life. However, it came about again when she ran for president. I'm wondering, did y'all forget when she was initially running for president, nobody liked her, and her numbers were very low, and she basically stepped out of it. But I guess it was the whole game for her to come back as this, and for Trump to be so horrible that we most definitely going to elect this man who's a grand wizard and this black woman who's now Indian, right? Because they was bringing in a frequency. So then all through their process, everything was censored, everything was manipulated. It was just horrible. Okay. Then the fucked up thing in between is somehow Trump got blamed for George Floyd shit. So which caused people to boot him out, but we already know the what's up, right? So we're going to put that on the shelf. They get into office. All this weird shit is happening. All this censorship is happening. People losing money. All of this weird new age frequency, new age religions, all of this just start coming in. However, at the last minute, they decided to create the Stargate at the borders. And so they let all of these Stargate people, because this one makes it interesting. Let me go back to that dire wolf shit. Them people who are coming in from the Stargate, which are the borders, how do we know those people that were growling and jumping and doing all that energy, how do we know that's not that DNA shit that they pulling? by taking the, like, for example, if they're finding mummified alleged sacrifice bodies, what is it to take those mummified bodies and duplicate the DNA to create more human beings like that? You see what I mean? I just wanted to say that part, since, you know, you guys nosy in other places, right? Because we just talking about bewitchery, witchcraft, okay, and witch doctrine in this universal soul. So anyway, let's go back to the Stargate. So anyway, they let all these motherfuckers in here, and they have lost count of where in the fuck they went to, right? But here's the thing. It was so lot of trafficking going on, muling, prostituting, organ harvesting, all of that going on. But in reality, they started all this shit maybe around 2014, 2015. And you, especially in the Bay Area, you started noticing a different type of frequency of Latino people. And then, so basically you had the Biden energy come in, bring all these motherfuckers in even more. But really, they had already been here. That's really the truth. They already been here, okay? So then through that process, just trafficking. First of all, we didn't even get the real Kamala. The real Kamala is a different type of person. I don't know who that woman was, but it's what it is. Furthermore, I know so much shit about Kamala, it is unbelievable. And I was just scared for black people to sit up, vote for this person, and she ain't like shit. She don't like the women, and she ain't like the men. I've heard so much shit. And matter of fact, where I was sitting at in my cubicle at the city and county, I know somebody who knew her personally and knew who in the fuck she was fucking with. I used to sit at work, everybody be knowing information. The maintenance people would come in, or the janitors would come after hours and be running a fucking mouth. I know so much shit about fucking Willie Brown and shit. Oh my goodness. And all them, Gavin Newsom, all them motherfuckers, is unbelievable. They all talk about each other. All them politicians, how they sleep with this person, who slept with Gavin Newsom to get over here. This person wasn't supposed to be the assessor. She slept with Gavin Newsom. Hey, you know over there what's going on with that assessor? They all having them orgy parties at the house and cocaine party. Allegedly. So I'm just talking. If I know shit like that, what else do I know? So why in the hell would I sit up and be like, yeah, vote for Kamala? When shit, she barely a fucking AKA. Shit, they don't even like her, allegedly. I'm not talking. I'm just saying what it is. So what the fuck are you talking about? You know, we got to understand these spell works. So we have one administration brought in the immigrants, and then they getting trafficked like a motherfucker. I think some Latino guy, Mexican, fat, something fat, some rapper. Who is this? And he done got 33 years in prison for, let me see here if I can find it. Basically, he got like 33 years. Yeah. Rapper Fat Flo gets 33 years for kidnapping immigrants. You have people in Texas and other places around the border recording children with their hands tied up behind their back, hands and feet tied up. The fuck you talking about? This was going on during the Biden administration with Kamala. You had people in Texas with their guns and shit, was afraid to walk outside because they didn't know what the fuck was going on. That's no lie. You had women getting sexually assaulted. You had organ harvest. You had a whole lot of shit. The fucks? And then now you have this administration coming in allegedly deporting, but you better notice who in the fuck they're deporting. Because it looked like they're all were chipped. And it looked like some of the people that they deported was some kind of arrangement. Because what they made it appear is that they didn't sat up underneath our noses, let the El Salvadoran prisoners out and flew them into America. And now they're done with them. Now they're flying them back out. And like they had made a big deal about this makeup artist who got caught up over there, but they're not telling what the real truth is of information he was telling and who he was fucking. They did their job. They did their work. And they're done. And they gotta go. They are getting deported. Allegedly. And then it gets out of line because then you get the school system who's helping and calling ICE. You have jobs calling ICE. See, you guys got caught up with Portia from The Real Housewife of Atlanta talking about that she told on her husband, Simon. Well, shit, Simon and Shamia husband, I heard, are both raggedy and scammers. They both was doing the same thing. Just like people around here allegedly saying Portia and Shamia are both prostitutes. And both their African men, as they say, mandingos, as in rude terms, were both cutting up. And both scammers. So, of course, Simon had to be deported. Or whatever is going on with him. Right? So what the hell are you talking about and trying to put me as, again, a Candace Owen? Because you're not understanding the frequencies of what's going on. Because I'm talking about Elon Musk. This same woman, Kamala, again, didn't know if she was black, Indian, or black. How do you trust a woman who can't decide what the hell she is through ethnicity or race, but she's married to a whole white man? I'm supposed to trust her? I'd rather drink the poison of Trump. At least I see who in the fuck he's married to. And I know that's a whole German. I don't know what that is right there. What's going on here? This is above y'all pay grade because we're talking race and culture because we don't want to be real. And a lot of y'all afraid to say that. How do you trust a black man or black woman who's married to another? We don't want to talk about that spell work, right? You telling me that most black men didn't know that she had a hatred towards black men? And sometimes towards black women? Are you telling me I'm going to vote for a person who was putting parents in jail and harassed Latino mothers also who didn't know English? And taking their children away from them and all that stuff? On some bullshit? Okay. All right. There's been a lot of black people in the famous world, and I was seeing something with Charleston White and some other people talking about this whole case with Carmelo Anthony and Austin McCaff. I am now suspicious because those people do not have the energy or the understanding to talk about this, and unless we know more and more, is scamola. They're bullshitting us. Somebody in the comments had the audacity to try to play games and be a little smartass, most likely fire and air, and had the audacity to tell a fib and be deceptive to divert the truth, talking about that their sister worked in Frisco at the Frisco school, and stated that their sister knew of the twins, and you heard the way I said knew of, but didn't say that they knew Kamelo. Then they went into, I guess, nigga mode and tried to show show a contrast of what I allegedly named my son, which I peeped the spelling, named my son, and some other energies, and that is just what black people do. To basically debunk what I'm saying, because they insecure about themselves, so they call themselves supposedly showing that I didn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, which is very interesting, but it is what it ain't. So let's talk about the breakdown of all this and look at the bullshit and look at some connections to the warehouse and start to really look at codes, because I see some people have low comprehension and they don't get what I'm saying. And that's okay, because I'm water energy. I'm not for everybody. So when I'm looking at the frequencies, I have some fucking questions. For one thing, I was looking at the number system of them having the KS in Carmelo, because as I said, I connected it to Carmelo Anthony with a C. Just recently, he was in the media, or his child was in the media with an interesting number system. I think of loss or something 22 or whatever. We better start really understanding the Freemasonry and the codes and the energies that's happening, okay? So we understand, from what I'm getting out of it, the letter K's in the alphabet is the 11th number. In the world of symbolism and in the world of layman, number 11 has multiple frequencies, and the number 1 is death, a death number. Number 9 and number 11 is something to watch for. So they made sure to put the K in front of Anthony. However, the person in the comments was up their asshole trying to show how you can have 2 first names, and I'm assuming that's what they was trying to allegedly say this is. Now in the media with the name Carmelo Anthony, they was trying to present that the black child's name was Carmelo and the last name was Anthony. That was the presentation. The presentation wasn't that the child name was Carmelo Anthony. So we're going to stop that playing. Okay? So anyway, looking at this energy, and as you start looking and listening, social media is a cyber riddler. This whole case is a riddler, and more, let's look at the games. It's a lot of bewitchery codes going on here. First of all, you have the cyber cop. So let's look at some energies. This is supposed to be a minor. The minor is 17 years old. Why is the minor mugshot spread all over the universal soul with the explanation and description of what happened, right? That's very odd. In addition to, why would the KKK, well, matter of fact, the address, someone put the boy's address out, and the KKK allegedly, which are Freemasons, went to the suburb of where this child's supposed to live and was trying to confront the parents, but apparently who opened the door allegedly were some Latino people. That's very interesting. Then the Freemasons, KKK, allegedly went to the jail and was trying to surround the jail. Well, how would they surround the jail when he's supposed to be in a juvenile facility? So what is that, allegedly? Okay. The other part of it is that the picture of Karmelo's family looked photoshopped. Okay. When you go back and you read the mugshot, something isn't copacetic. They're trying to say this child was 5'9" on the mugshot, but then on the pictures they have him as 6 feet. But then he's supposed to be 5'9", still, which is a pretty good height, which is pretty tall, at 130 pounds. That's quite skinny, because I have a cousin, he's 5 feet, and he's 150. And he's not fat, but interesting. Then they have 3 different pictures of who in the hell Karmelo. They have the picture that's in color. They have the other picture of the arrest of a person, 130 pounds, who look quite meaty. Then they have this, let me say, probably that same person that supposedly is a witness. Then they have the person who's on the mugshot that you can clearly see that's not him. Okay, so they want to keep fucking around. Okay, meanwhile, again, we have black people, famous or entertainers, whoever, talking about this. What the fuck are y'all talking about? Were you guys in the warehouse? So then over here, we start to look at race and ethnicity. Race B, ethnicity N. And we understand, hypothetically, there's supposed to be a difference between race versus ethnicity. I was like, Negro? Nigga. Huh? National? Who? Until someone brought to my attention that the way that the mugshot is written is like a passport or a visa. I said, that is so. I've seen my father's mugshot. I've seen my kids. I done seen all that shit. Okay. That seemed very strange. Then something else was brought to my attention. The name. Some spiritual constituents did some investigation and called up to law enforcement or the police department or whatever, looking for Carmelo Anthony because of the way how they presented it in social media and on the alleged news, right? No such thing. Maybe the reason why they couldn't find him is because on the mugshot, and it's not a turn of names and all that shit, they have him as Anthony Karmelo, sincere. Excuse me? Sincere? But it almost sounds native. What's going on? Then I started thinking, but damn, my kid's father was adopted. And his adoptive mother changed where his first name was one thing, and she took the middle name and made it his first name and switched it around. I said, so this child, this alleged person, name is Anthony Karmelo Sincere? So, I'm doing a video. What's wrong?
I don't want to interrupt your video.
Oh, okay. You about to leave?
Yeah.
Your pants are very interesting.
Why
you got them up so high like that?
You don't think it's good?
Oh, boy.
What?
It's interesting. They gotten bigger, though.
My high waters.
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh. So, that energy very much stood out. What also stood out was they have the arresting date as April 2nd. And look at the time. See, you guys start looking at these numbers, even when it comes up to that Austin McCaff, per se. We just have questions. We want to understand the riddle, okay? Because I don't believe shit. The way this is written is dated because the arresting cop is no longer there. Wait a minute, huh? Wait, he just arrested him. Where'd he go? Wait, huh? Because now they're saying allegedly that Austin McCaff is not even his real name. We just talking because, according to that comment, somebody's sister worked in the school system that know both of them, allegedly. Okay, this is what they're saying, right? So they've been treating this case like this minor kid is an adult. He hasn't been charged as an adult, but it's a little suspicious. The person that did the stab, is he in jail? Who has he been there? What's happening, right? So then they asked on the document, employer, HEB. HEB is supposed to be some kind of chain in Texas that does, I guess, you could go, is online shopping, and then you could pick up, I'm assuming, it doesn't seem like to me it's an inside walk-in store. It seems that it's an online store where you can order online, right? But it said he worked there as a cashier. But it said he started working there April 2nd of 2025. So he got arrested on 2025 at the school, allegedly, but started a job as a cashier on the same day. But you got niggas talking on social media about what? Huh, okay. Okay. We're just asking questions, right? This whole case. They have a movement going on, Free Kamelo. All right. Different person in handcuffs. Different headshot. Different person. Then the GoFundMe. So GoFundMe disbands it, sends the money back to people, because I know a couple of people who donated to his legal team, and GoFundMe sent them the money back. And then people are saying, then how in the hell does Luigi get a pass? And Luigi, this person that they call Luigi, outright murdered someone. We don't have any questions? Allegedly? This whole story that sounds very interesting, that has a couple of Luigis? Who's that money for? Just talking. So they give all the money back, and then they went to another site, this person. Now I'm going to, instead of calling him Kamelo, I'm going to call him Anthony, where he raised $100,000. Okay. So we got Luigi, where GoFundMe didn't disband his donation thing, but with Anthony they do. Who are these characters? Who's playing this role? Luigi outright is first-degree murder with special circumstances. But if they're alleging that Anthony was jumped, isn't that self-defense? We just talking. Because, you know, everybody talking about it, but no facts. Right? It showed that Anthony is from Baton Rouge, the home of the warehouses. Frisco, Texas. They talked about the energies of Frisco, Texas, of a train system in Texas that went in between St. Louis and San Francisco. Frisco, that alone can have so many energies to it, from Latino to Western style. So Frisco was really named after San Francisco in slang. And some people who are native to San Francisco would say Frisco. Not that San Fran shit, but Frisco, right? It gets weird and it gets convoluted and it becomes the Riddler now. It's as if we have Baby Aligua being a trickster, right? Because the person who was the examiner who basically stated or basically announced Austin McCaff to be dead, last name was Chao. C-H-A-O. But very interesting because that is similar to Angela Chao, the one who allegedly they said committed suicide, the one they said had the accident and died in Texas, who is, let me see here, who is Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law. So Mitch McConnell is her brother-in-law, Angela Chao. Now Angela Chao, I'm wondering, are the Chows, are they related to the examiner? Because some of the accusations that was coming out about Angela Chao allegedly was drug muling, harvesting, meaning organ harvesting and so on. And that's what some of the people are talking about with this case. They said it's so convoluted that again, it may be dated and didn't happen like when they said it happened. We're just talking, okay? The thing about Angela Chao is she lived in between New York and San Francisco. But they said her homestead was in Austin, Texas. Frisco, Texas, slang for San Francisco, Austin McCaff, but she, damn. But there's no connection because McCaff is a common name in Texas because you guys are simpletons because you don't understand the Riddler. Okay. Okay. Now it's coming out allegedly that Austin was on drugs, on crystal meth, and had amphetamines and shit up in his system. The fuck is going on here? This case is getting crazier by the moment. And we don't have questions? We don't care about the bewitchery. Okay. So now they tested Austin. They say in so many words he was high on drugs. So that matches the story of people being high, drugs and drinking, whereas Anthony didn't have any drugs in him, no drugs, no nothing. And 130 pounds. What are we missing here? Because then you got to go back and look at the examiner report in reference to the toxicology report. Go look that up. Go look at all the number systems on the mugshot. Peep the 5-9 number system. Then go back and look at the date of birth of Austin. Huh? Then you go and read the Wikipedia of Angela Chow. And all of it is connected. On the mugshot, you have April 2nd. You have April 2nd being the date of arrest, then April 2nd being the start date of a job. So we have the 4, but then if you're really smart about it, it's 22. But then here it says Ball is Life. It says Carmelo Anthony and Lala watched, what's his name? Cayenne in his last ever high school game. Cayenne finished with 22 points in a tough loss to a prep Chipotle Nationals. Remember, these are 2 different schools, because if you go back to the report, there were different schools at that school. At the school Austin was at. And it shows they said it was buses outside. Matter of fact, on the CSI report, it said in so many words, it was insinuated there wasn't any blood. There wasn't even blood with what's going on here. The CSI, none of that matches what they're telling people. And they didn't say there were other kids there. And they have a witness list, allegedly, with crossed out names. Then you have this here with Carmelo Anthony's son, who was in a prep, as these were prep schools, private schools. But you said that I didn't know what the fuck I'm talking about, because you thought I was having a dumb moment. I was reaching. And you got all these people talking about this shit, and this shit is on cap that something's up. And these reports don't make sense. And some of these people are not even there. And then where it says the nationality, who? Is he from Nicaragua? Where is he from? Who is he? What's happening? And everything is allegedly. Anyway. We have been doing a hell of a lot of research, and I come to the conclusion that it's not a gay issue, it's a man issue. And there's no more gay men. It's all men. And we're being cyberpunked and bewitched and witchcrafted at the same time from these warlock men. Women across the board have to understand survival. If we look at the white woman, we already know she's a villain, but at the same time a victim of her own man. I want to look at some bewitchery here, right? We have bottoms. We don't want to say gay men. We want to say bottoms. Because there's a whole lot of men out here who are bottoms. And we have some who are a little bit more interesting than the other. And the ones who are a little bit more interesting are the ones who are calling their assholes pussies. Ladies, let them have it. Let them have that word pussy. We understand that their pussy is not a womb and it's not a vagina. Then in that case, then we should put certain stipulations on what a vagina is and a womb. Our vaginas, our vaginals, if it doesn't push out children, babies, placentas, umbilical cords, period blood, ovulating, menopause, uterus, reproductive system, clitoris, cervix, and all. It is not a vagina. A vagina does not need a dildo to keep it open after surgery. A vagina doesn't smell like a backwards ass, aka feces. With a vagina, you don't need to douche it and have care a week beforehand of having sex. You can wash up a vagina right then and there and get to fucking. You don't need to clean it out to make sure that it's clean inside, because a woman's body can actually clean itself out. Women douche because they want to, but we don't have to douche to have sex. Our vaginas don't smell like fish. It's just sometimes it gets specialized clams. That's why clams are very rich in pearls, because the pearl is the clitoris. If it's not doing any of that, then it's not a vagina. And if you are doing some of the things that I talk about with the dildo, the smell, and so on, you have a pussy. Let's do another energies of fibroids. In my comments, somebody put out foreskin, and I had to go in a galaxy far away. I was standing on an astral plane, and I'm thinking to myself, ugh. Then I started thinking about a turtle. I said, how come a dick with a foreskin look like a turtle? Is that where turtles come from? Is that what they're shaped like? Why would the Spirit of the Lord make a turtle's head just like a dang fucking male penis with foreskin? What type of game is that? So then I started to do some research, right? And I think you're onto something also with foreskin and the bacteria. With the bacterial transporting, with bacterial infections, what else? The smells, the caked up frequency that can be inside, the particles. I think you're about right. And sometimes these men who have them foreskins, it end up looking and smelling like extra sharp cheddar cheese. And we just, as women, we just have fucking questions, right? When it comes to fibroids, we need to look at all counts of it, right? Women's health. We have drugs, meaning crack, cocaine. It's chemical warfare. Crystal meth, chemical warfare, right? Because we got to think about, even within crack cocaine and some of them drugs, it has sugar in it, and then it has the audacity to have baking soda and some forms of lactate in it, right? Allegedly. We also got to be careful of tar heroin. That can be a motherfucker and war on a woman's body and her reproductive system. Again, chemical warfare. See, we never think having sex with these men can be chemical warfare, especially if they're on drugs, right? And then we have women who put flavored and pink powdered cocaine on their vagina. You don't know what may happen there. Then you have some women who will put crystal meth in their asshole. How does that affect us, right? We're just talking. We're having conversation here of witchcraft and bewitchery of the world, right? The other energies in this universal soul that were happening, let me go back to men. On Instagram, it's been a lot of ranch energy popping up. They're creating these, I'm going to call college dropout females, or women who are molded to sound intelligent but very sexy and pretty, and they're giving them basic points, right? Because you guys are visual. What is very interesting, I want to put them at the top because, again, I want to address that because one of them was talking about the word female. We have to be careful because women and female is still feminine natures. What is also very interesting, there's a psychological clinical issue going on with men. Almost as if they under the energies of bipolarism / symbolism, with a touch of autism and catatonic schizophrenia. These men, especially black men, is minding our vagina business. They believe they are our fairy godmothers. And they want to tell us how to get a man, how to keep a man and how to get a ring. We need to stay the fuck up out of their business, and they need to stay the fuck up out of our business. Men believe they have femininity. Men are running around here with prosthetic titties, literally prosthetic titties, and jiggling them around. I seen a fashion show with men bouncing titties, and I seen this drummer with bouncing titties. Then I seen the other fetish of growing titties. Yikes. Men are out here taking estrogen and all that frequency to have smooth skin and supposed beauty, right? But in reality, they're cosplaying. Men are out here douching, putting on women panties with tampons and sanitary napkins as they're having feces discharge that they believing it's period. Not douching to clean it out, but douching to emulate a period. You have, and I'm just speaking in third person when I'm saying you, so don't take it personal. You have men out here who will dig in the garbage cans of the household to obtain the woman's tampons and sanitary napkins with blood on it and put it on themselves. In a report that came out, a study of white children who suffer from disabilities, mental disabilities, they said 10 out of 15 kids, for these are white kids, have disabilities. That means them motherfuckers are adults today. Witchcraft. But we're worried about dumb shit. Stevie Wonder, I went back and started studying autism and rhythmical autism, which incorporates body movements. When you study Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles, they told us that was just them being blind. Them being blind has nothing to do with the rhythmic body movements, which is connected to autism. So, was Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder autistic, or was that mounted on them because they're blind? Because Stevie Wonder can read the fuck out of somebody when you listen to his music. We just need to go back and understand some frequencies. But who was very autistic but have forms of identity disorder was Jim Carrey. He's a whole motherfucking study. Funny as fuck, but interesting. Somebody in my comments decided to check me again to tell me that Elon Musk and Nikola Tesla are two different cancers. When I'm talking, I'm speaking layman. I'm not doing no astrology, astronomy, or whatever you want to call it, or horoscopes reading. I am not a master teacher of astrology. But since you wanted to be in my business, because you want to break down birth charts and break it down to the lowest common denominator, in many ways, yes, they are two different cancers due to the positioning of their birth date. And one of them skips over a whole month and leads into a whole different frequency. You got that point? And I'm not going to get all into that because you got in my business of what I was talking about, but you wouldn't even understand how it is called skipping a month. That basically brings them up, or it can bring you down into a different energy of horoscoping. Okay? Because in a minute, you motherfuckers gonna wear the fuck out of astrology, astronomy, whatever you want to call it, horoscopes, whatever fits you. And that's above people pay grade that they can jump a month ahead or jump a month back. I was in an energy talking about Omarion and his size B titties. And the debate was he fat or is he fat? I said he's not fat. So I said it looked like he's been taking estrogen. Like they have been giving him estrogen shots. And whatever how he's living his life now, or whatever he's eating, is counteracting, is fighting against itself. See, this is above y'all pay grade. What it is, what it ain't, what it ain't is what it is. Back in the day, they would give guys like him, not saying that's what it is, estrogen for beauty, for sexiness. So, for example, back in the day when you had these groups like B2K and Immature and all of that, you wondering as a man why you was attracted to some little boys, or you attracted to a man, because they created a beautified frequency out of them by giving them soft features by using estrogen. Not saying them, I'm just saying it happened. But they didn't think about the long run of it. I doubt with him is an issue of him having a titty moment. But I'm just putting it out there, looking at it, it looked like estrogen, and that's what they was giving him in the past, and the shit has mutated itself. Okay? Now, if they just being funny as fuck, having him going out there with a size B, okay. But let's for giggles and laugh talk about that energy in the industry, how they was giving some kids pills or whatsoever, or femininity pills to make them look feminine and smooth in the face and have a certain appeal. So where a man be like, oh yeah, that nigga Omarion getting it. Yeah. But then all of a sudden he feels attracted. So y'all didn't think about that. That was another frequency to make men attracted to other men. Okay, bye. To make men attracted to other men is to give them estrogen and they look feminine. When I was talking about the Immature, and I was talking about that Marquise Houston, and I said, yeah, he took his whole identity from that group Dame and Dame. Just like, and I don't know, I have to go back, but look at Dame and Dame exclusively and right to it. And both of them, the female and the male, just like died, like hella did. And then later on, when I seen Nicki Minaj, I said, dang, she looked like the woman from Dame and Dame. But then going back, when I looked at Marquise Houston, I said, damn, he's wearing that bob. And then when I started listening to their music, Immature, back then, I didn't know what I was listening to, but I listened to it again, and it was like, oh my, what the fuck? However, with Marquise, he had that energy where, Immature period, had that energy as if they were giving them estrogen. to it's and it wasn't even so much of, oh, that's just a little boy, this and that. No. The smoothing out of the frequencies, the femininity. Again, I'm not saying what is what it ain't. And sometimes they can give them shit and they didn't even know what the fuck they were taking. Okay? So, you know, this is just some frequencies to look into, right? Earlier, I was talking about that Shamir from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. How do you guys look at the Real Housewives of Atlanta and even want to see Shamia? And she's using her child who was from that Ivy, not Ivy, was it the surrogate? How y'all look at that? Because on the simple fact that she's using that child for a storyline. She didn't even want it. She said she didn't want it. She didn't want that child because the child was disabled. And black women, there's an energy going on out here. Let's be careful because we having people who are basically mixed company or weak DNA people across the board getting in our faces. I seen something where this person walked up to a black woman, called her a dumb black bitch. Y'all better start whooping some ass, huh? What's going on with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Boston took the place of Graciela. I kind of like, what's her name, Balls or whatever? I kind of like her. I think she's interesting. She is third world. They both third world. I wonder is Graciela going to go back to that where she lived? Because remember the last time they showed where she lived, she was living in a desert. Then next thing you know, they took her back to Hollywood. I don't know where in the fuck that was, but damn. Slutty vegan. What's that? So is that why she was removed? From Spellman? These people don't be owning these businesses, you know. It's just a name hold. It's like Rick Ross. You'll find that they really don't own these energies. Most of the time, people like themselves will be silent, like they have silent owners and whatever. But who would have known she didn't own her shit? And people try to make excuses for it. But it just makes me think it was something else sinister behind it. There's always something sinister behind it. That means somebody else probably owned it and then sold it to her. But she might have to, it'd be the funny thing is that her name was on it, but it really wasn't hers. It was somebody else's. Okay? And then she still had to get the loan from them to buy it back from them. Isn't that wild? She probably had to get a loan. And investors. And then put it on the front like she owned it. A lot of these people are just name holders. They don't really own. Then you're wondering how a lot of these people are rich in America. That's a cold game, and that's a cold piece of spell work, and they always using black people as a face. They use white people too, but it's not put out there like it's put out there with us. Isn't Shaquille O'Neal on, like, what's it, the Papa John's and stuff like that? And remember what happened to the Magic Johnson theaters? How about you know Magic Johnson never owned those theaters? Wouldn't it be wild? It was owned by Putin. Putin owned all the Magic Johnson theaters. His name is just used. You know, Indians like doing that too, using black people for clout. Did y'all see that energy that happened on the streets of New York? It was this I forgot, the young lady had the glasses on and they was talking about abortion rights. And the young lady asked the other young lady about Planned Parenthood, and I don't know what happened. All I know is the pow in the face, and then allegedly she started bleeding. And I said, is this real? That blood didn't even look real. There's always some interesting shit going on, right? They talking about Tina Knowles have a whole man up in Louisiana, been having a man up in Louisiana, spirit gossip. Right? See how everything is an illusion? No wonder that Capricorn woman wasn't happy with that Pisces man. That makes sense. Of course a Capricorn got a whole man and a woman somewhere else. Shit, they'll steal yours. Myself and the spiritual constituents, they were telling me about Orlando Brown. And they were saying, what's wrong with him? They said they don't understand why he's in his situation. I said, what are you talking about? They said, why he act like he homeless, don't have a place to go, and don't have money? I said, what are you talking about? They said his mama has a mansion over there in Mississippi. Some play Apocalypse, whatever, I think. I said, what are you talking about his mama? I said, you sure that's his mama? I said, because when you look at Wikipedia, they act like, what? Wait a minute, what? And they talk about his mama. And they were like, he looks like his mother. And everybody know it. These are people talking out of Louisiana. I said, what? And then the alleged is that she's a lesbian who kind of owns a mansion with interesting things and interesting people come and visit. And they were talking about one of the people who used to visit this mansion was Whitney Houston. And they said that allegedly she used to have him in Hollywood. What's happening here? And my whole thing, and their question to me was that, then what's up with him? I said, damn, did she sell him? Did she sell her son? Allegedly? I said, this is not the first time I've heard this. I said, this sounds very familiar to some other people. So then I even went back to Richard Pryor and Sammy Davis Jr. Very similar life to Orlando Brown. And both of them, all of them were Sagittarius. I just went back and when you study a lot of these, especially black kids, they were sold into Hollywood. I was having a discussion with someone. I was talking about Charlie Sheen having HIV. And I was talking about back in the 80s, how Michael Jackson and everybody was involved with the white boy who had AIDS. You guys can look that up. I forgot his name. And I said, hey, Charlie Sheen was hanging out with him, with that kid that had AIDS. I said, I don't think Charlie Sheen allegedly has HIV. I said, he might have AIDS. I said, he was all involved with that brothel shit. I said, but people don't talk about the industry kids I'm not talking about like a Drew Barrymore. I'm talking about the industry kids that be with these people, and the people give them AIDS to children and make them sickly and give them the STDs allegedly. You could see you like an industry, like you guys may be looking at, like, you know, Facts of Life or whatever, like back in the day, and you know, stuff like that. We understand that shit was going on there, but I'm talking about the kids that you don't see. Like, let's go back to the Facts of Life. How about some of them girls were industry girls that your elites and motherfuckers be getting with the get down? And then the spiritual series brought up talking about Damon Wayans messing around with him. I said, wait a minute, what? I didn't know that. Wait, hey. I said, oh, is that why he was commenting on him? Because, you know, these people that they say some of these kids that's their parents, is not their parents. Their parents be people like Orlando Brown mother. But they'll sometimes present either no parent or a different parent. You see the bewitchery in that? You see how we can't believe what we see in social media in the world? Okay. I found that very interesting. I found it very interesting because, again, more and more I'm seeing that's coming out. Even with Jonathan, even with Jonathan Majors, it's the same scenario. Like, what's up? Like, for example, in the 80s, you had Webster and Gary Coleman or Emmanuel Lewis. Where in the fuck they get them sickly kids from being short like that? How come them kids were always sick? Where they get them from? Gary Coleman was adopted. Who was his real parent? Where they get him from? Who were his parents? White women keep bothering black women, and they're getting on these street corners in gay neighborhoods or sections and keep trying to do paganism and calling out to the universe, talking about support our black sisters. They're number one. So no, what you want? I don't trust no white woman getting on a corner talking about black women. What you want? What is this new energy of LGBTQIA plus? And what the fuck is LQBTQ2 spirit? What's that? They're having a new poly-family show coming on TLC. That shit is mayhem and sinister and confusion, as well as polyamorous, period. It's a white couple. And it's a whole bunch of confusion. They don't know whose baby is who. They just all over the place. They living in the book. You talking about Revelations. You better go back and read that Ecclesiastes, whatever. Was it Ecclesiastes? Better read it. In that, they tell you to kill your kids. They in your fucking way. They're useless. Kill them. You're in my way. He's talking the world, right? I was looking at on social media, the Bay Area popped a balloon again, and the dude in black was clowning all the women. And I knew he was going to get harmed if he didn't cut it out when the sister who was holding the microphone said, "What is you doing?" See, she said, "What is you doing? What are you doing?" Right? I said, "Oh, he about to get hurt." And she was looking at him. I said, "He about to get hurt." And I thought to myself, me outside of that world, I said, I'm glad I survived the Bay Area niggas, because they are a trip. Them niggas are emotional. But then, San Francisco, what's up with, are these new Bay Area? But then I was like, damn, Bay Area dudes seem like they abusive? What's wrong with them? I'm not saying all. This scene is interesting. Then I look back. You can't reject them niggas. They'll harm you. You gotta ease backward what they own. And then they get angry, volatile. What's up? I was just looking at Pop the Balloon, right? The other thing is, women. I understand it's an in thing for doulas and all this stuff, but be careful of your doulas and be careful of your holistic providers. Make sure they copacetic and they got their shit together. Because right now I'm working with a client that has some issues going on. And she had her child on that raw vegan diet, and now the child is caught the fuck up. Okay? And I'm not going to get all into it, but also watch out, okay, in this system, and watch out who your kids' counselors and all of this, because what is happening in this universal soul, especially in social work and CPS and case working counselors and all of that, Latino people are getting their masters, their PhDs and so on, and their AAs and BAs in education and also in social work and case working. And your kids are going under them, and it's not I'm going to keep it real with you, it's not looking good. And also, if your child get caught up in CPS, the Latino people tend to house your children sometimes with Latino people and then intentionally fuck up your case so you can't get your child back. Watch out for that. I had a case like that. Anyway, I'm noticing something that where, again, she came to she came to me at the end, and basically the people that was working on her case were not in her favor. And yes, they were Latino. So yes, they're taking black people. Now we got to worry about them playing games. With my current case that I'm working with in this situation, is that's exactly what's going on, where there's a misunderstanding of her being a vegan and what she was, giving her child, and raw vegan and holistic frequencies, trying to heal one's child through holistic care, which is so much more to this, but we have to be careful. Furthermore, you're going to have to be careful with the hospital system, because now you're getting third world people who are now doctors, who will look at your child as a case study, and the next thing you know, your child is on a fucking screen, PowerPoint, and they'll be looking and researching your child for a good 10 years. Okay? So for number one, we be careful. Watch who's your child counselor. See who's speaking into your child so you can have a clear understanding of what's going on, okay? Another energy that they've been talking about in the media is the Alabama prisons stealing organs from prisoners. Watch out. Now we have a new religion that's updating itself. Purgatory. This is Easter coming. You didn't realize that you was part of the purgatory energy, which is necromancy, from Ash Wednesday to Passover to Easter, that you're helping to forgive spirits of their sins. Yes, purgatory is talked about all in the Bible, from Jesus and more. Okay? And we have individuals, and you got to be careful, because these entertainers some of them are trying to do purgatory work, because they know they didn't sat up and was, of course, sacrificed their child, pulled Isaac, Abraham with Isaac. They didn't set up and put with Ecclesiastics or whatever, because we're going to keep mentioning that stuff so you guys can get it. Purgatory is a very dark practice, and we didn't know we were part of it. All this time they've been playing games with us. I remember getting up early in the morning, going to the cross on Easter. We're doing all this fast and all this energy so we could forgive the dead of their sins. That's not our job. Revenge and redemption. Why should you sit up and pray for your baby daddy? Because he treated you like shit. Or your wife or whatever. Or your dad or your mother. Your cousin, your sister. I remember somebody, and people have been telling me this, the incestuous relationships with their siblings, and then their siblings die. And then they talk about, I'm going to go pray for them in their death. The fuck you uprooting. And this is the time to do it. This time. These motherfuckers out here trying to practice purgatory with these walking spirits walking around here. I was talking to a spiritual constituents today about those damn copper ring, them copper things that they've been fucking around. I said, what the fuck they pulling? They crazy as fuck messing with that. Talking about they getting a reading from some purgatory motherfuckers. Lost souls. Maybe they're supposed to be in limbo. What you think that whole energies of Jesus dying on the cross was about? Purgatory. It's been purgatory all through the Bible. When you're summoning, that's purgatory. Because you're promising something. And it's going to happen more and more. Anyway, this is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.